Welcome. It's 12:30 on a Thursday, and it just happens to be July 4th. So, a funny hat. Just for you. I only do this for you. Well, and my kids. If my kids wanted me to do it, I would do it. So, happy July 4th. I hope you're having a fantastic day off. But it's 12:30 on a Thursday, so we are here. We are going to talk about July 4th, both some factoids that I did not know and some barbecue tips. And then we're going to touch on how to start your own 100. We'll get into that too. So first things first, my son brought to my attention, I did not know this before this week, that the Declaration of Independence was not signed on the 4th of July. What? Not. So I looked into it a little bit, and here's what it is. We celebrate July 4th as the birth of United States of America, independent from Britain. Yay for us, woohoo! Now, the whole thing went down like this in terms of the timeline. It was on the 2nd of July that the Continental Congress voted to declare independence. So the vote was yes. Thomas Jefferson had been working on the first draft, and it was presented and voted on the 2nd of July. Then they spent a couple days tinkering, and the final wording was approved on the 4th of July. Now, because it was the 4th of July, and that's when they wrote out that big, beautiful Declaration of Independence, then the date on the page was July 4th. And so later when people were looking back at their history in after the War of 1812 anyway, they were looking at it, the July 4th was the date on the final version. So that's the date that was remembered. It turns out that August 2nd is the day that everybody signed it. 1776, same year, but still. I was fascinated. So it just goes to show that whatever's written down is what survives in history. So, think about that. So the truth wasn't that the 4th was the day it was voted on or signed, but it's the date that was written on the document, and that's the date we remember. So, writing down things really makes a difference. That's what I wanted to tell you about. So writing down things is something that makes it real for long term. So if you, that's partly why, we stay conscious by writing things down, like logging your food or planning your food week. And then it's documentation for later. So we have a history, just like the Declaration of Independence. So keep that in mind. Also, we can get into a whole thing about history books and the things that we remember simply because they were written, where other things happened and they weren't necessarily written down. Oral histories, lots. But we're not going to get into that. Instead we're going to talk about second thing. So those were my tidbits about the 4th of July. I found them fascinating since I hadn't known them. Is barbecue tips. So I will keep the hat on for barbecue tips. I actually love summer barbecues. I think that they can be excellent for our enjoyment, having fun with people, and the food being a lesser part of that. Now, of course, barbecues can be nutty, right? You can have potato salad and lots of chips and dips, and there obviously can be that. But if you want to keep it low calorie, you absolutely can, because barbecuing is a nice way to do it that it doesn't necessarily add a lot of fat. You can barbecue vegetables, tons of vegetables. You could have a large volume of stuff. Chicken breast is always a great thing. And then hamburgers and hot dogs don't necessarily have to be bad. Hamburgers will have a little more calories just from the fat content, depending on the fat used, 90% lean, 85%, that sort of thing. Bread is a choice you could make or not. You could have it with salad so there's easy ways to make a barbecue not as caloric as many of like Thanksgiving. And my favorite part about it is the fruit. OMG. So you get to have sweetness that is at its height in the summer with fruit being in it, and it doesn't have to be cakes and cookies and brownies. Now, I will say environmental control can be challenging, because if you're going to a party and there's all these other things available, then of course that's tricky. But my point being is that you can do it. Sometimes it's very difficult. And this one is not as difficult. But of course the thing would be, plan your week. So if the barbecue is going to be your big calorie splurge, then the rest of the days in the week, go down a little bit, and there you are. Even Steven, and then you can be maintaining your weight or losing, depending on what it is that you want to do. So, barbecues, fun facts. Okay, that's coming off, because the next thing that we're going to talk about, as per the Ounce of Prevention that you can get to your inbox every Thursday morning, just go to stephaniefinemd.com and you can sign up right there, is the fact that this was my 100th Ounce Prevention. 100! My God, I mean, honestly, 100, that's a lot. 100's a lot. I mean, 100. I can't believe that I've written and sent out 100 of these. Now, the point about it all, certainly, is that 100 happens. If you just decide, I am doing this, and you do it, and you do it, and you do it, and you do it, then 100 is one of the numbers that you go through. And this is my point in bringing it up today, is start something, and then you'll have 100 under your belt too. It's fantastic. Now, of course, the idea is that it's a commitment that you're doing, or a habit that you get into. So if you say, I will get on the scale every Friday morning, period, end of sentence. In less than 2 years, you've done it 100 times. And there will absolutely be things that you learn about yourself and about your body and about your eating and about change. If you just make that one commitment, like that's what I'm doing. I will, every single week, I'm going to get on that scale, no matter what. Amazing. That alone will help you maintain weight loss and help you lose weight, because if you're committed to that one thing, then on the crappy weeks, you're getting on. And then the crappy food weeks don't become crappy food months, become crappy food years. So it absolutely makes a difference. Having 100 home cooked meals, bringing your lunch 100 times. You know, there are things that you can do, and if you kept track. So it so happens that there's two places where I keep track. The Ounce of Prevention is one of them, because I know how many go out. I just have to do it, and I number them when they're in my computer. So I happen to know there were 100. But also minutes in Headspace, which we've talked about, the meditation. And that's also a nice thing to see the numbers go by. It's amazing how that happens if you just keep doing it. It feels like 10 minutes of meditation, what difference is that going to make? But after a year, you know, you're talking about, what, 3,650 minutes. It's a lot. So that idea of the 1,000-mile journey with one step, it is so true. And it can't be more true than with weight loss. So you can pick one behavior, start it, and then just watch the days accumulate. And it doesn't have to be in a row. I mean, it can if that floats your boat. You know what I mean? If that is something that motivates you, we've talked about that, like Xing it off each day on the calendar. But it just has to be 100 times. Maybe that takes a year. Maybe it takes a month. Depends on what it is. So if you can say to yourself 100 times, I am loved, you could do that in a day. You certainly could do that in a week. And I'll tell you, if you tell yourself that you are loved 100 times in a week, you will feel different. So 100 of anything is gonna do you right. Now, of course, 100 of anything bad is gonna do you wrong. I mean, that'll add up too. So just something to think about. I'd love for you to think about one thing that you're ready to commit to that you will be happy when you've done 100. Now, whether you keep track or not, well, you'll need to keep track if you're going to know you've done 100, but you know what I mean? Like, what's something that feels like you can't do it, but if you just started with one thing now, over time, you would do it? What's that one thing for you? go ahead and do that. It's a perfect day. Declare your independence from whatever's holding you back. And then today's the perfect day to do that, July 4th. So start your 100, have a barbecue that you're happy with, and impress your friends with the knowledge that the Declaration of Independence was signed on August 2nd, 1776. Have a great week. I will see you next time. Bye.